In modern dating, most men lose before they even begin. Not because they're unkind or unattractive, but because they overshare, overgive, and overpursue, hoping effort alone will spark desire. They don't realize that attraction rarely dies in a dramatic moment. It fades quietly, slipping away the more predictable, available, and emotionally exposed they become. Long before psychology existed, Machiavelli understood a timeless truth about influence. People follow strength, presence, and restraint, not pressure. Relationships aren't won by convincing someone to feel something. They're shaped by the gravity of the person you become. And here lies the core claim. A man becomes irresistible, not by chasing love, but by mastering himself. So ask yourself, what if the real power in attraction comes from what you don't do, rather than what you try to force? Today, we'll explore 5 Machiavellian rules that build natural attraction, without manipulation, without games, just psychology and self-mastery. In any interaction, someone sets the emotional tone, and Machiavelli understood that the one who defines the situation naturally holds influence. This is what modern psychology calls the frame. When you're calm, grounded, and clear about who you are, you create a stable atmosphere that others subconsciously follow. This isn't dominance, it's stability, and stability is deeply attractive. Most men lose the frame by trying to impress, over-explain, or win approval. But a man who knows his values and moves with quiet certainty creates a different effect. Women feel safer, more curious, and more open around a man who isn't swayed by moods or pressure. Control the frame, and the connection naturally follows. Attraction thrives on balance, not imbalance. When a man gives too much too soon, constant attention, constant availability, constant effort, it doesn't feel romantic. It feels unearned, and unearned effort signals low self-worth. Psychology calls this the reciprocity principle. People value what they must participate in, not what is handed to them without invitation. Machiavelli taught rulers to protect their resources until loyalty was proven. The same applies here. Your time, your energy, your presence, these are not freebies. They gain value precisely because they are selective, not scattered. When you pace your investment instead of flooding her with effort, you communicate something powerful. You are a man who chooses carefully, not desperately. Many men here don't be emotional and mistake it for detachment, withdrawal, or coldness. But true attractiveness comes from emotional maturity, not emotional absence. The difference is simple. An unstable man reacts to everything. A mature man responds with clarity. Machiavelli observed that rulers who stayed composed earned trust and loyalty because people feel safe under steady leadership. The same applies in relationships. A man who doesn't crumble under stress, doesn't panic at mixed signals, and doesn't chase validation creates a powerful sense of psychological safety. Attraction deepens not because you're unavailable, but because you're unshakable, the calm center in a world full of noise. Women trust men who regulate themselves instead of being driven by every emotion that passes through them. Machiavelli taught that a wise leader reveals only what strengthens perception, not everything, not nothing, but the right things. This is where most men misunderstand mystery. Silence creates confusion, but depth creates curiosity. Mystery isn't withholding to manipulate, it's having layers that naturally invite exploration. Instead of dumping your entire life story on the first date, practice controlled vulnerability. Share experiences that reveal your character, your values, your direction. Not every detail of your past. This shows substance, not secrecy. A woman becomes intrigued when she senses there is more to you than what appears on the surface. Attraction grows not from confusion, but from richness. The feeling that she's discovering a man with depth, purpose, and untold chapters. Nothing destroys attraction faster than a man who tolerates disrespect, inconsistency, or treatment beneath the standards he claims to have. This is where Machiavelli's wisdom becomes brutally clear. Power is preserved not by what you control, but by what you refuse to accept. Most men stay in situations that drain them because they fear losing the woman. But in doing so, they lose the one thing far more important: themselves. Walking away is not anger, it's not punishment, it's self-respect in motion. When a boundary is crossed, when effort is one-sided, when her actions contradict her words, you don't lecture, you don't plead, you don't negotiate, you simply step back with calm certainty. That silence communicates more strength than any argument ever could. And here's the psychological truth. Attraction deepens when a woman sees that you choose dignity over approval. Not because you're playing games, but because it proves you have a life, identity, and value system that exists with or without her validation. A man who can walk away is a man she cannot take for granted. A man who protects his standards becomes the kind of man she naturally rises to meet. Here is the part that most men never understand. The moment everything silently shifts. Attraction isn't built through chasing, convincing, or performing. It isn't earned by trying harder, texting faster, or giving more than the situation calls for. Real attraction is created from the inside out, through a kind of psychological gravity that forms when a man becomes centered, selective, and self-led. Think about the 5 rules we explored. You control the frame, so you're no longer emotionally pulled in every direction. You stop over-investing early, so your value is felt instead of thrown away. You master your emotional stability, so you become the calm in someone else's storm. You cultivate depth rather than games, so curiosity grows naturally. And you walk away from what lowers your value, so your standards speak louder than your words. When all of these principles combine, something powerful emerges. You stop orbiting other people. They begin orbiting you. This is psychological gravity. You're no longer chasing attention. Your presence pulls it in. You're no longer trying to be chosen. You become the kind of man people want to choose. You stop worrying about saying the perfect line, doing the perfect thing, or reading every sign. Instead, you move through the world with a steady, grounded energy that communicates one truth. I know who I am, and I don't need external approval to confirm it. And that is the exact point where Machiavelli's philosophy becomes healthy, powerful, and transformative. Because true Machiavellian mastery isn't about manipulating others. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that manipulation becomes unnecessary. Influence flows from a man who is centered. Attraction flows to a man who is selective. Respect follows a man who is consistent. Women don't become drawn to men who chase validation. They become drawn to men who radiate a quiet certainty, a sense of internal direction. A man like that doesn't need to prove his worth. His actions show it. He doesn't demand loyalty. His standards inspire it. Here is the deeper message, the truth these 5 rules all point toward. A man who owns his presence never has to pursue validation. Because when you embody strength, stability, and self-respect, attraction stops being a game you play and becomes a force you naturally create. Which rule will you use first? Before you leave, take a moment to look inward. In your own dating life, which habits are holding you back? Which of these Machiavellian principles do you need most right now? Stronger boundaries, emotional stability, controlled investment, deeper presence, or frame control? Share your answer below. Your reflection might help someone else recognize their own pattern. And if you want transformation, not tactics, the kind of psychology-driven insights that reshape how you move through relationships, subscribe for more content like this. Remember, attraction isn't built through manipulation. It's built through mastery.